What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 game development live stream. We're back in our gas course project, a game built from scratch using Unreal Engine 5, gameplay ability system plugins, C++, blueprints, and all that good stuff. So today we're not going to be doing any sort of Unreal Engine work. We're going to just work on our game design outline here. Now, it'll eventually be transcribed into an actual full-on game design document. We want to just kind of outline at a very high level what we're trying to achieve with our game. We know we want there to be a card system. We need to look a little bit into our enemy design, some progression system ideas. Obviously, we're going to list our inspirations, some experiments that we want to try, our combat system, and things like that. So that's our goal for today. We'll see what we can accomplish within an hour and a half or so. And if we find the need to, we can go back to Unreal and start doing a little bit more stuff. But I think for now, I want to just have a chill Sunday stream working on very high level stuff. So come on with me and let's get started. So our working title, I know what I'm calling it internally. I'm calling it Deck Night. I don't know if that's going to work. If that's going to be the end name or anything like that. That's what I'm gonna call it for now. That's what I'm calling it eternally. So, I still suck with Figma. I don't know how to do, his sticky notes here. So, we'll just say internal project name, Deck Night. Definitely subject to change. But for now, I think that's short and sweet, to the point, what we're trying to accomplish. So I think put that there. So one sentence hook. Combine the real-time mechanics of pipe, or just fast-paced third-person combat with the strategy of in-depth card and deck building. Or combine the mechanics of real-time fast-paced third-person combat with the strategy of in-depth card and deck building. I guess that's also a placeholder, but gotta put something down, right? So the main hook here is, because I've been doing some research too, and there's not many games exactly like this. There's things like Slay the Spire, but that's all turn-based. There's things like Lost in Random, but that's more of, I guess, not even dice. So, I mean, dice is one of the core mechanics. You have a dice that you can roll, but it doesn't really... It influences combat a little bit, but not like a crazy amount. So there really isn't much here, and my friend that I'm working with, she was saying that she had asked ChatGPT to suggest some games that have card elements, and there were some weird ones, but they have some interesting ideas with them that we might be able to look at. I'll have to sync with her this coming week. So nothing exactly like what we're trying to do, which is good. So we'll have to see how we can handle this the best way possible. So the main hook here is to combine the mechanical skill of third-person fast-paced combat with the slower, more strategic elements of card and deck building. So genre, action, roguelike deck builder. Yeah, I think that's appropriate. So what is our core gameplay loop? So we're gonna say, obviously it's like, I'm not 100% sure how to write this. I'll say it, character building, card and deck building, so we got character building, card and deck building, fight waves of enemies, there's not going to be much exploring, I don't think. I don't want there to be, like, I guess that's a pretty big debate question I could put here. Like, still not entirely sure if we want any sort of exploration components, whether the player navigates from arena to arena, or I don't know if I want to say static arena. That can change. Well, static arena that can augment in real time. Put more notes here. Lost in random. I guess both lost in random. Hades. Let's players navigate between arenas. Maybe this is the best direction. So that's going to be a pretty big system, I think. How we kind of randomize rooms and stuff like that. Complicated system to properly... I mean, we can maybe use it like procedural generation tools to create, what are they called? Can't remember. Seeds. So create random seeds and kind of have things change that way. So complicated system to properly implement PCG, procedural content generation. How do we make arenas interesting? Take into consideration player move set. Because you got things like character building, right? Oh. I duplicate this? How do I... Or how do I take this? So character building. So what do I really want for character building? Then I guess permanent upgrades. I mean, should the character building have? I guess character building should maybe contain elements that don't persist between runs. I gotta think about that. So permanent upgrades, I'm not sure yet what I want to say, but I guess I could say, so weapon upgrades. Oh my goodness. Armor upgrades. Like, should there be armor upgrades, or should that be like just general stat upgrades? So weapon upgrades, character stat upgrades. I'll probably have to move things over a little bit. I select all those at once. Yeah. So let me grab all of that. So what's next? So we got character building, that's weapon upgrades, character stat upgrades, card and deck building. I mean, also character building might also mean like permanent unlocks and stuff like that. So weapon upgrades, you know, unlock permanent skills, trees. Weapon upgrades, character sub upgrades, unlock permanent skills, trees, stuff like that. What else? All right, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be right back. I gotta just use the bathroom, so I'll be right back. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I'm back. So let's keep going. I want to put some sticky notes next to each of these things. So, I know, weapon upgrades. Now, yeah, I wonder what this could really mean when I say weapon upgrades. Like, what is different between that and character stat upgrades? Like, I don't think, like, should a weapon upgrade mean, like, hey, it deals more damage, or should it be more than that? Like, what could be the difference between weapon upgrades, character stat upgrades, and unlock permanent skills, trees, and stuff like that? Like, should weapon upgrades say, like, new moves, longer, more diverse combo strings? Examples like dodge attacks, air attacks, heavy attack combos, so I also kind of wonder, do I want to have like multiple types of weapons as well? Because, you know, you have things like first Berserker. I don't know if that's how you say it. Is it Berserker? Yeah. Zan. Weapon types. Great sword. I think it's spear, javelin, and then there's I forget the other sword types here on me. That's ChatGPT. Yeah, great sword, spear, javelin, and then great axe. Yeah, something like that, and then you have, for example, hey, I actually worked on a real-time action card building some time ago. Really? What's the name of the game? I would love to know more about it, just so I know my idea is still not taken and already done. If you have information on it, if it's already publicly available, that'd be really cool to look at as a reference. What other games am I thinking about? It wasn't a third-person action, but a car action game. Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, please send the name of it if it's released. I'd like to learn more about it. What else? So Lost in Random. Had weapon types. It has sword, it has bow, it has mace, and it has something else too. I think it has 4. What's the name of this one? Lost in Random what? The Eternal Guide. Okay, so you got sword, you have a lance, which is a spear as well. A hammer. I don't know why. We'll say advance. Because that ultimately, that's also a decision I had to make. Vroom Kaboom. That sounds awesome. What was your role in Vroom Kaboom? Was it the design in some aspect? Or was it something else? Let's look. Vroom Kaboom. Vroom Kaboom, and then there's Vroom Kaboom Premium. Oh, it's free to play in general. I didn't work on it for a long time, but enough to know that the biggest hurdle is the cognitive load. Game designer, yeah. See, yeah, that's also my concern. Because, yeah, real time and then also card activation, for example. It's a lot to ask. And that's why something like Slay the Spire works pretty well. Because, you know, it's turn-based. So build a deck to fit your playstyle. Okay. See, this UI is exactly what I was thinking. Having the cards here. And yeah, like, that's kind of crazy. Okay. Because, yeah, let me show you what I have. So, yeah, I was thinking cards just like that. Well, not cards in terms of like visuals, like where they are on screen and stuff like that. Oh, man, online PvP, that's wild. How people like this kind of game. Is there any... It's only one user review. Well, I mean, that's on the premium one. What about the free one? Hopefully the free one has a lot of reviews. Vroom Kaboom. Mixed. Okay, what are people's main complaints? But I'm definitely going to put that as inspiration. I'm definitely going to check that game out. Vroom Kaboom. Real-time car. I guess it's a driving game, no? Racing. Car racing. With card deck building elements. It has mixed reviews, can't always make bangers. That's fair, you know, still some stuff to learn. So yeah, this is my current prototype. I don't know how well, you can't really see the cards too well, but you have like the card selections on the bottom. And you have the character running around like this. But I'm thinking, because I want the cards on the bottom, in some capacity, obviously, you know, your hand will be there. Maybe the camera should be zoomed out more, just to give more real estate on screen for the cards, rather than being kind of this close. I'll have to find a good balance there, I think. But yeah, basically you can switch between the cards at the moment, and you can activate the card. This card gives you a new ability, and you can activate it, but it doesn't do anything. And then card 2, when you activate it, gives you a buff, gives you all criticals and critical damage, for example. So like I'm trying to prove that concept. But yeah, it's a very good point about cognitive load. Like how because that's also kind of my concern, because right now with the input scheme for this on gamepad at the very least is like left and right D-pad to switch between cards, and then up on the D-pad to activate it, which definitely not going to work, only because you have to like let go of your thumbsticks in order to do that. So I'm flirting with the idea of making it left and right trigger or left and right bumper. But if I do that, on gamepad, I'm losing some potential space there. Honestly, because triggers are pretty important. Another reference for you, Magic Legends. Okay. Definitely check that out. Let's first look at some of the mixed reviews on this. Let's see what the people who say thumbs down downloaded it for the VR mode. VR mode did not work. Okay. I participated in the beta. I uninstalled this game in record time. Okay, that doesn't give us anything. Seems like the VR mode. Okay, so people don't like the VR. I understand it isn't a driving racing style game, but to have to use mouse clicks to drive is horrible. Okay. Pretty rough. Personally, I feel like the bumpers make the most sense, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, I would say so. Like my potential concern, and this might be just how I want to scope things, because yeah, bumpers could make sense, but I'm also playing with the idea of being able to block and parry, and usually bumpers are for that. But maybe left trigger could be blocking and parrying. Maybe that's a good thing, because right now left trigger switches to like this projectile kind of ability, but maybe that's just how it could be for another class or different types of character. Forgot to say this each time, but the time dilations on hits are looking fantastic. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. A lot of time was put into that, and maybe we can see what it do. We can look at what it's doing in slow motion, maybe. Because you got the hit, like it's very subtle, but you got like a little bit of a freeze there. And what I'm doing, I'm not doing hit stops per se. I'm using a curve for the time dilation, so it slows down to 0 for a brief moment and then ramps back up. So it's not an explicit stop, but you can if you wanted to with the system, which is nice. What else do we have about Vroom Kaboom? Note, dead PvP game. This game contains some meaningful single-player content. Vroom Kaboom is an unpopular attempt at a tower rush with vehicles game, mixing collectible card game features with tower defense and online multiplayer battles. Players will build decks using collectible cards and matches. They deploy these vehicles. This is a bit of a train wreck with a schizophrenic design method, trying to be too many things at once. A driving game, a CCG, a tower attack, a VR tech demo. It failed at all these things. Sloppy code, lack of playtesting. Okay. Well, at least this guy's giving some information. So, upset about no single player content. Personally, I want my game to be only single player. I don't want it. I already tried to deal with multiplayer. From a technical perspective, I can't do it. At least not by myself, because I've worked on Outriders, and that's a multiplayer game. So with proper code support and engineering team, yeah, I can work on multiplayer. But having to support that on my own and not with a AAA, AA company's resources behind it, I can't properly test it either. So single player is probably the smartest thing for me. But yeah, cognitive load is a very good concern and a very good point to have. Like, how do we, do we keep certain aspects of the combat simple in order to alleviate some of that load? So, for example, do we, I don't think I'll keep, because jumping is a big what if for me right now, and I have this charging aspect to it, which doesn't really make much sense. Maybe we don't really need to give you that air time, and maybe do we even need air attacks? It looks cool, but Is it needed? Obviously, we have some invasive ability, which I like. It is, it's not on a timer per se. It's on stacks that have a cooldown. Maybe we don't need that part. And then we have, light attack, and then a hold heavy attack. But obviously, the light attacks feel pretty heavy. Honestly, they could be faster. Like these could be like the pressed variants of a heavy attack, and then if you hold, he'll go into something like this, to that effect. And then also we have this kind of ability that throws projectiles. Like maybe that's not really necessary, at least for this kind of base class. Maybe this could be an ability that you unlock, and when you activate the ability, he just goes like this, and you could just start spamming it or something. Not 100% sure on that, but yeah, being able to go through cards and obviously block and parry, maybe left trigger would work. So yeah, those are the things I'm kind of thinking about as well. So I appreciate the reference there, Rock Hornet, and keep on pushing games. Like you said, they can't all be bangers, but definitely don't let that stop you from doing what you love. So let's look back on Steam real quick, because Azradian, no, not was it? Yeah, Rock Hornet also said Magic Legends is a good one, but he said it was canceled. So is it even on here? No. Is there any information about Magic Legends? I mean, if it was canceled, then I don't know what kind of references I could take from it. But let's see. Hello, Shrill Duck. I love UE. Nice. Yeah, Unreal Engine's pretty good. Obviously, there's other good engines out there too. You got Unity and Godot and Game Maker, and all that good stuff. So a lot of good options these days. A lot of good resources out there too. So let's jump back into our game design documents of Vroom Kaboom. I know we wanted to Slay the Spire. There was a beta. Okay. Did you check it out by chance? So Slay the Spire. Yeah, every game engine has their plus and minus for sure. Like I tried, like honestly, I'm trying to learn Godot as well. Like I have Godot on my taskbar, so I try to jump in there when I can. But this project's taking up more and more of my focus, so I kind of want to stick with it. But I do watch what's the Playable Workshop series, and I'm on that Discord, trying to keep up with that. Like a lot of cool stuff happening on that Discord. Speaking of Discord, you can always feel free to join my Discord. For those on Twitch, you should be able to get a link there. I guess everyone will see that, so feel free to join the Discord if you like. Pretty quiet there, so more people to chat and hang out, the better. But yeah, let's look. So Slay the Spire has good progressions. So good progression, good card deck building elements. Hades is also a good reference. I'll just put all my references and add notes to it later. Level design aspect of it? Okay. Yeah, I wanted to be a level designer when I first started, but then I learned Unreal Engine when I was in the Unreal Development Kit days, UDK. So I did a lot of BSP work and stuff like that, but then I started doing some scripting in Kismet, and I started liking that aspect of it. So then I moved to, I guess Kismet scripting, and then eventually Unreal Engine 4 came out, and I started doing Blueprint scripting. So what else do we want to say? Yeah, Lost in Random is a good reference. Devil May Cry is a good reference. So yeah, we're kind of going scatterbrain style throughout this document, so forgive me for my loose thinking here. So permanent skills and trees. No, I guess more inspirations here. I want to say, Claire, Obscure, Expedition 33. I like their Picto system, and I guess also for Devil May Cry, I'll say their ranking style system, but also for Claire Obscure, Verso's ranking system, because I want to integrate those kind of things into the game. So like as you're playing, as you're fighting against enemies, as you're using cards and stuff, you're gaining style points or rank points, whatever you would want to call it. And based on that ranking, you know, there's also just a separate scoring system. And when you, after each round or wave, whatever you want to call it, those points will be converted into some sort of currency, which you can then use to either upgrade your weapons, upgrade your stats, purchase new cards, upgrade cards. But with the ranking system as well, I want there to be kind of like in the Verso's ranking system in Claire Obscure, his abilities perform better when you use them at certain ranks. So like S rank would probably be the best, but you can also say, I think some of them are like, all right, from like A rank or higher, this happens, these effects happen. So I definitely want to kind of play with that idea as well. I guess I want to say, yeah, I guess under design experiments, I'll put this as well, but I'll add another section for like concerns. So cognitive load. How much can the player, I don't know how to properly word this, how much can the player multitask between third person action mechanics and using cards? Using cards, deck management. How can we scope real-time mechanics to ease that burden without making it too simple or boring? Maybe easy to learn, hard to master mechanics. Maybe like readable UI. Honestly, what these mean in the long term, I don't know. Easily readable UI elements. At a glance, understand what's happening. Because another aspect of this game that I believe gives it a unique hook is when you're in these waves fighting these enemies, there's also a I don't know how I want to call it, but it's going to be some other AI. So you have like these peons that you're fighting, you know, your typical grunts, whatever kind of archetypes and stuff like that. But on a higher level, you're going to have an AI that's also playing cards. And I don't know yet if, because I don't want there to be turns or anything. I want you to be able to play cards as often as you can. Obviously, we're going to be gating card usage behind some sort of, you know, fill and spender kind of mechanic. But the enemy AI should be kind of reactive when they're doing these things. So three enemies are spawned. You start attacking them. The rogue AI throws like shields on them, plays a card, says, okay, enemies have 10% damage reduction or something like that, and then you have to just kind of deal with it. Or there can be cards in your hand that can negate that in some way. Either, quote unquote trap cards that could say, okay, inverse the effects of the enemy's last card, or things that say, okay, the enemies have 10% damage reduction. All right, my card here does 20% damage increase, and so you gain some sort of advantage. And I want to have some sort of layer to that where the enemy plays a card, says, okay, enemies will explode after death, so you got to be careful. You got to be always like kind of worried about stuff. So I think that would be that's what I think will make this game kind of interesting. But how we inform players of that, how do they keep tabs of that, where do we display that, without there being like icon hell, how that can kind of work. But yeah, those are the things I'm trying to keep into consideration. I made my duck spaceship in Unreal Engine. Nice. Duck ship. So what other inspirations am I going for? I want to possibly say things like God of War, just for the action aspect of it. So I guess kind of both versions of God of War. Like you have the original series, which was very arcadey, beat 'em up style, and then you have the new one, which is more third-person action focused. But yeah, things like Lost and Random and Hades 2, those are very similar types of games with similar types of mechanics. So I'll go back to that. So yeah, weapon upgrades, character stat upgrades. So I like how games like First Berserker handle that. Like First Berserker is on. I always spell Berserker wrong. You get you unlock. I think it's, I forget what it's called, like Prima or something like that. First Berserker is on. What is the currency to upgrade character stats? I need to start working on Planet Quack Quack. Have not started yet, but been running ideas through my head. So what I do, and I know everything I want to do in my head. I would say don't do that in your head. Put it to paper or to computer. You don't want to kind of live inside your head in that way. So note everything on something more permanent than your memory. Yeah, Lacrima. You unlock Lacrima that can be used to upgrade character stats. I believe also the God of War Valhalla. That one has Rhoda elements, and you unlock points to do permanent stat upgrades as well. So unlock points to permanent. Yeah, I didn't spell that right. So it's gonna be kind of tricky to balance that. Can I make these smaller? No. I'll have to just kind of give it space here. Something like that. And then unlock permanent skills and trees. It seems that you want more of a deck building theme as a flavor to roguelike mechanics. Yeah, pretty much. Like, I want to add that kind of twist to these roguelike games where you have to build cards, well, build a deck with cards. You purchase these cards in between waves and you build your deck from it, and things like that. So I hope that's gonna work. Like, there are a lot of, roguelike mechanics, roguelike games and stuff like that already on the market. I know it's a very saturated genre, so I'm trying to put as much of an interesting twist into these things, because a lot of the stuff has been done. There are some things I do need to learn to write down, things doing with lyrics, writing, that kind of stuff I can't remember for shit. Then yeah, start writing stuff down. So unlock permanent skills and stuff. Oh yeah, the other aspect of what I liked about the Picto system in Clair Obscur was, in order to permanently unlock a Picto, in order for you to be able to use it with the, I also forget it's another L word. You get all these points and then you can not purchase, but a certain number of Pictos on your character. So I kind of want to do that too with my unlock permanent skills and trees and stuff like that, because I want there to be ability cards that you can have inside of your deck. And when you use an ability card a certain amount of times, you can unlock it as a permanent ability that you can then slot into this. Lumina, thank you. So you got Lacrima from first Berserker, then Lumina from Clair Obscur. But yeah. So let's see. I'll just call it Expedition 33. Use Pictos. Well, for them it's 4 times, I believe, to unlock the Lumina. Then I could, since I'm calling it Deck Knight, I'm just gonna say Deck Knight. Use ability cards X number of times to unlock permanent abilities, can be slotted in between waves, rounds, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, also at the same time, I want there to be some like not just explicitly ability cards, but like passive ability cards. And like a passive ability card is like something that explicitly augments a specific ability. So for example, if we had an ability that I can't even think. So we have an ability that, for example, slows down time, right? Maybe a passive ability card for this ability would be, when you're in this slow motion realm, your attack damage is increased by 10%, or it's kind of boring. Like, we would probably want to make something more interesting to that effect. And then when you unlock these types of cards, they can be slotted as like kind of like webs of these abilities. So when you have certain abilities, you can have like a list of maybe 4 or 5 passives within it, or like 3 or something like that. And so you can kind of craft your abilities, and then when you craft your permanent abilities in this way, you can remove these cards from your deck in order to replace them with new ones. There is the concern, if we kind of do that, then maybe we let you kind of outcraft, or just outcraft your character to where you don't even need to use your cards anymore. I don't know. That's definitely a concern. I need to start writing down my lyric ideas because I keep forgetting things I come out with. I need to have it written down so I have when I decide to start working on music. Yeah, write things down. Let me be the first to tell you to write things down. Write it down. You never know when inspiration will strike, and memory is shit. I don't remember that much. Use passive ability cards to unlock permanently. Do I work alone on this? For a while, I've been working alone on this, but I have a friend from back home from New York. I've been talking with her, and she's the one that's been helping me with more of the design aspect of it. She was the one that recommended that we use Figma, start outlining stuff in a design document, start to put things down, because honestly, I'm bad about doing this too. I'm working with her a little bit, trying to see how much we can accomplish as a very small team, in our free time, because obviously we both work full time. And just seeing what we can get. That concern of power creeping exists in Magic the Gathering. That's why you have pre-constructed and draft. I should really play Magic the Gathering, honestly. I don't play many card games, so I'm probably really screwing myself over with these things, so I should probably learn more about what pre-constructed and draft means within Magic the Gathering. So I'm going to put that as one of my inspirations too, because yeah, we're missing some card game stuff. So Magic the Gathering. Maybe something like Gwent. Like the closest thing I got to kind of card games and stuff like that was like Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day. I'll put Yu-Gi-Oh! I think. Is that how you spell it? I can't remember how to spell Yu-Gi-Oh! Or is it like Yu-Gi and then O? Let's ask. Yeah, that's right. One of my favorite MTG deck was a Blood Rush. Turn can hit for 48 damage. Damn! So unlock main abilities. Can have X passive abilities assigned. What? Guess that maybe that's clear. My design paper is big chunks of text side by side. Yeah, like honestly, this should evolve into actual documents at some point. But I think just trying to get as much on a high level as possible is ideal. Yeah, and then like, how do I potentially want to have like? Is a skill tree really a thing? Like, should there be skill trees that like augment or unlock certain movement abilities, for example? So say, you can't jump by default, but then you can unlock a jump ability and then unlock like air melee attacks or like slide attacks or sliding in general, sprinting in general, or can we say, because like in First Berserker, you have all these different, trees, like a general tree, and then I use personally the Great Sword. So there's like these subtle trees that unlock certain more abilities. Should that kind of stuff exist within these skill trees, or is that something within the weapon upgrades itself? So say your primary, like say for example, we do just First Berserker goes on kind of weapons, right? So you have Great Sword, Spear, Javelin, Great Axe. do we say like weapon upgrades are strictly like improvements to the weapon, like stats? Because I don't want that. I don't think that could be part of it, or that could just be part of your character stat upgrades, where you have a stat for weapon damage, whatever you want to call it. And weapon upgrades is more about what the weapon itself can be doing. And Lost in Random has some stuff like that too, where you can upgrade like different ways of how, like the sword, for example, handles. Like you can do passive healing stuff with that. You can do burn damage stuff with that, and a lot more other things. So maybe that's where that inspiration can come from. I'm not entirely confident just yet. So RPGs deepens on how you do the skill trees. Most RPGs don't need the skill tree; they just edit it because people like skill trees. True. Like, I need to find a balance between what you are as a character able to do and progress versus how your deck can progress that can then influence combat and how your character kind of behaves, and kind of how that could possibly negate anything that the AI is doing. And like, do I have any other like permanency mechanics? Like, do I have, potions in between waves? Like, do I do what Hades does, and possibly what Slay the Spire does, and what Lost in Random does, where there's certain checkpoints or certain parts like after each wave that you get some random item, and then that item could be, some temporary buff. Like, again, using Lost in Random as the most recent example because I'm playing it. Every time you do a round or a wave, you enter a room, you fight a couple waves, and then it's done. You unlock some reward, and that reward could be one of these. I don't know what they're called, but basically like these color things that you could put into like a grid slot thing, where if you unlock the same colors, you get some broader, better ability. Or you unlock coins, or you unlock these other currencies that you can do to upgrade your weapons or your character stats in some way. Or you get max health upgrades, or whatever. So do we want to introduce stuff like that between? I don't know. World of Warcraft, old skill tree was needed. The new skill tree was not. They could just remove it. So find a mid-ground for that skill tree at least. Yeah. For sure. Because, yeah, maybe the skill tree... yeah, maybe the skill tree can really simply be... Maybe it could be split up into two different things. One is the weapon tree, and then it's the skills unlocked from your cards. And maybe that's it. So your character moved like your general 3C things are all the same. So basic character controls, I'm going to rename this to 3C. So character, camera, and controls. Melee magic structure, abilities unlocked via cards, stamina, yeah. Also, because my game also has stamina. I feel like that might be not necessary, because like stamina is more involved with activating your abilities, which now we have them like through these ability cards. So this should probably be replaced with like the current, I don't know, the builder and spender that you get to actually play the cards that you activate, because each card can have a cost, and then you do that cost when you play that card, and then you build back that currency through performance in the game. So as you're killing enemies, as you're dealing damage, whatever it might be, you're gaining that kind of currency back. Unless you do a passive tree like Path of Exile, that is nice. It's more or less a nodes you unlock to add states. Maybe. So there will be a default character and not separate classes. That's also a good question. I don't know. Like I'm locked between, because like this ability, for example, that seems like a very mage like ability, versus having a sword. So I don't know if I want you to be able to have a weapon and have this kind of ability. So like the question is whether or not I want to say like, okay, there's also a mage class, and the mage class has some sort of staff, and the staff is like doing this kind of stuff where it's all like long range, or you have a bow that's all long range or something. So that's also a good question, if there's classes or if it's based off weapon. I don't know if I can do both. Because, like, for example, maybe it can be like 3 classes, for example, right? Like a mage, and then a barbarian, and then like a knight or something. And so like barbarian has like a great sword or something, the knight has just a normal sword, and the mage has some staff that is more of the long ranged kind of thing. Could it be a looter where it changes based on what you pick up? That also could be a thing. So like maybe it can just kind of work how Lost in Random does it, where you can choose whatever weapon you want, or you unlock weapons or something. And so if you choose a great sword, you have this move set. If you choose a normal sword, you have this move set. If you choose a staff, you have this move set. And like the staff is more or less this ability. He won't be throwing it with his hands or anything. He'll be kind of moving the staff, kind of like packs of exile related stuff. I think I'm leaning more towards that. So that's how you can kind of build your character. So you can, like you mentioned there, Billy, like you could purchase new weapons, weapon types, and then use them as you see fit. Probably a good idea. Are you doing the interface and components set up in Unreal Engine? So yeah, pretty much everything you're seeing here, not the character, not the like VFX, not the environment or the skybox, like all the visual aspects of this stuff I just got from the Unreal Marketplace, but the actual controls and everything that you're doing, all the melee abilities, all the movement stuff, it's all what I've been working on, what I've been doing with the gameplay ability system. I set up the UI, things like that. Like the character, the dummy character, that's all Marketplace assets, the trees, the grass, the skybox, all these assets. That's all from Fab. But yeah, everything else is yours truly. So yeah, I think maybe we'll kind of lean into that. So I think that's a good point, Billy. I'm gonna maybe do it to like weapon based, and we'll just have to see what weapons we want to support without going too big in our scope. Because if you do that, making new classes will be way easier. Yeah. Because I'll have to think. Because what would also be interesting is having cards that are focused on what the weapon is doing, right? And that could also be things that you can permanently then unlock. So, for example, you could say, for great swords, critical hits will then inflict burn on them, on the enemy. That would be an interesting one. Let's see if we can actually, after a certain amount of time, I like to get my hands dirty, so I think it would be pretty interesting if we had a card that said, like, when activated, all your critical hits burn the enemy, or inflict burn on the enemy. And we do have another card that says, all your attacks are 100% critical hits. So it would be interesting to activate those both. Let's go into code, because I want to start coding stuff again. I don't know if we have any explicit callback for when we deal critical hits. And I know I do that within, I believe, the health attributes set. No, in my damage pipeline, which I always forget where that exists. Oh, there's health component, data, deck developer settings. I would imagine it would be under gameplay ability system, but it is systems, damage, right? So do I pass that along if it's a critical hit? Well, I mean, I could. I do have information. See that I have a critical hit. I also add the damage type critical. So I could potentially be listening to that event. So broadcast damage to target, AC, and source. So both of them are receiving, so on damage dealt and on damage received appropriately. So I could, for example, let's make a new card. Where do you learn that sick coding skill, bro? Just time. You know, luckily I work with a lot of good people, and I've learned over the years. I'm not that great, honestly. I'm just super familiar with blueprints, so I know how this kind of stuff might work. Would it do it based on a tier system for each item? I feel like you would be best working your way back. So epic items deal more damage or have an effect that get worse to you get to common. Maybe, like, I just don't know if I want to have explicitly, like, I'll call it looter shooter aspects where you keep finding better items and stuff like that. Like, you know, First Berserker does that, and that's a good reference to that, where you just find more items and you can craft better items. I just don't know if that's too much to add on top of the systems that we're working on. You know, I have to kind of draw the line somewhere, but these are good considerations to make. All right, so let's make our CAS underscore critical hits inflict burn. So when we use this card, we can just simply grant an ability. Actually, oh, I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be that way. It could be a gameplay effect that grants an ability. So let's look. Modified the chance multiplier is a gameplay effect. So where do we do this? So card, gameplay effects. So we're gonna have to do better organizational as well. So what is the gameplay experience going to be? So what I'm hoping is the gameplay experience, and it's also part of what I need to kind of write down for this loop, or gameplay loop is, you know, start the game. You first kind of have some aspect of how you want to build your character. So, you know, some basic weapon stuff, character stat stuff, permanent skill tree stuff, and then you go into build your deck and your cards. So you have a handful of cards to choose from. You can buy them, or you're just given a deck to start with. And these cards are, you know, active abilities that you can slot that say, okay, you know, you have this ability for this round, you have this ability for that round. Passive ability, things that augment those abilities. Cards that can passively debuff enemies or buff yourself, things of that nature. And so when you're done crafting your deck and everything, you go to fight waves of enemies at that point. And so when you're fighting waves of enemies, it is more of a third-person action kind of game. I want mechanics similar to like God of War, Devil May Cry, First Berserker, just nice melee focused mechanics with, you know, evasive abilities and active abilities. So as you're fighting these waves of enemies, you're building up you're building up a gauge to be able to play your cards. So you're fighting these enemies with real-time combat and then activating these cards at certain times to boost your performance. And then as you're fighting these enemies, there's also an enemy AI that's high level that's also playing cards, and those cards could be detrimental to your gameplay experience. So the AI could be boosting their pawn enemies, so the ones that you're actually fighting. They could debuff you, they can mute your abilities, they could do all that. So it's a counterplay with real-time aspects and then this high-level card game strategy. So then after you're done fighting these enemies, you gain points, and then the loop repeats at that point. So you, based on your performance, you get points to upgrade your weapons, to your player stats. And as you're using ability cards, you can unlock them permanently because after you've used them a certain amount of times, and then you have this skill tree aspect for build from that. And then, yeah, you just, you know, it's just wave after wave after wave. So there has to be some story behind it, I think. So you have to, like, maybe fight your waves up to, like, certain bosses. Again, kind of like Molested Random. You fight waves and you get to a bigger, higher level boss, and you fight the boss. And then basically when you die, you know, I have to figure out what you lose when you die. maybe you lose your cards or something and you have to rebuild your deck or something like that each time. Similar also with Slay the Spire, you know, you kind of build up to like a big ultimate boss thing and then you go to the next round to the next round. So that's pretty much the gameplay experience I'm kind of going for. Hopefully I explained that clearly. Hopefully it sounds interesting. I don't know. Do you think making an RTS type of game require high code skill ceiling, especially when developing its enemy AI that are challenging? Yeah, I would say making any type of game has a high coding skill ceiling. You just have to plan appropriately, map it out, prototype. Obviously, try to learn as much as you can as quickly as possible. And you know, no code is perfect. If it works kind of situation. You'll kind of kill yourself trying to perfect the code. I would do a class and weapon system if I was going to add in diff classes. Like if you're a bower class, we would buff bow card and so on. Yeah, I think that's a good kind of aspect to it, right? So, you know, you base your class based off the weapon, I think, and then you purchase cards that involve with that weapon in some way. I'll have to just kind of figure it out. So yeah, let's make this buff and we'll call it a day at that point. So we have GE, test card, crits, apply, burn. So we have guard gameplay effects. I want to say card abilities. So we got to make a new class. Gas course gameplay ability. So GA, test, card, apply, burn on crits. I guess. So we want to do ability trigger, and then damage dealt. I think dealt is what I want. So event on damage dealt, right? So we're going to do activate from event, and with our code, you can see that we're also including in the payload, in the instigator tags, this damage type critical. So what we should be able to do is say, you know, break this constructor. We have instigator tags. We say has tag. Has tag, exact match, and then we have critical somewhere in here, damage type critical. And then we say yes. I guess let's first just construct this as a variable so we can reference it later. And then what we can do is, I think I can say apply burn. No? Is there something for status? Or is it just apply gameplay effect? I should probably have helper functions that say, you know, apply status effect or something. So apply gameplay effect to target. Oops. Well, I guess I can get ability system from the instigator, and then we can say apply to target, and then we can say target, get ability system component, that, and then there should be like burn. Let's go burn. So GE burn full, and we say not print string. Let's just, we could do a print string too, but we should be able to see it. So apply burn. And then end the ability. We also want to end the ability here. This can be left, I think we could just do instance per execution. It might cause a crash, I'm not 100% certain at the moment. So CS, critical burn, we want to, so there should be crit, applies burn. So we're going to go into this gameplay effect. You guys probably can't see too well what I'm doing, so here's 1.5 scale. Sorry about that. So we're not going to do any modifiers. We're going to add a component. And we're going to do grant gameplay abilities. And we're going to grant the one we just created. So crits. So cancel ability immediately. when we remove the gameplay effect, it should be totally fine. So now we have this new card. So what we need to do now is go to our data table. This is all of our player cards. Let's add a new row. Call it card number 4, whatever. For now, we'll say crit, apply, burn. Applies, burn. We have ability card types, so I'm just going to call it, global passive card. And then the card ability set is going to be this inflicts burn. And then last but not least, we got to add this card to our deck. So I think that's in our player state. Here's our deck manager. We're going to add a third card, and we're going to say, so we don't have a data asset for it. So DA cards underscore, well, cards, test card, apply, burn on. All right. I feel like there's a layer that I don't need. There's so many assets I have to create per card, but it's fine. So we go into this card here, and then we tell it what row we're going to be using. So card 4. So now it should be in our hand, and you see crit, apply, burn. So what I'm going to do is activate my second card, which is card 2, which lets all my hits be crits, and then I'm going to just hit them, and nothing works. So why? Does this get activated? Maybe it's on because it's instance for execution. Let's just see if so if I activate this card, crit, apply, burn, it should activate when I hit something, which it does. But now if I activate card 2 and do it again, now it should work. So instigator tags has no data, but if we look, instigator tags has damage type .critical, so it should go here. So again, we can look at instigator being the player, target being the dummy. So it looks like we're applying burn, so this should work, which it does. Okay, so I guess the issue was I was doing per execution. So again, I just attack, then I do card 2 to get all my things as criticals, and then I do this, and now I apply burn on all my hits, and now he's burning, right? And then, he explodes on death just because that's enough. So it's lucky because I'm using the gameplay ability system, and I have it all hooked up, and obviously it's going to expand with the types of attributes to support and all the types of events and stuff to support, but because with this system, you can make a card that quickly. You guys just listen to the appropriate events, check for the appropriate data, and apply the appropriate kind of status effect. So that's the kind of gameplay I'm looking for. So, you can maybe build your deck around burn damage. So you could be some fire dancer kind of moveset. And so that's all you're working for. But then the danger of doing that is this enemy AI, the one that can also play cards, can, grant buffs or, these things that say, okay, enemies cannot burn for, 10 seconds or something. And so then your deck is useless for X amount of time. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. So we got a lot done today. It's already been an hour and 20 minutes. Honestly, I didn't get too much done when it comes to the GGD. I'm going to keep working on it this week. And try to lock things down a little bit more. But I think that's where I'm going to call it for today. Yeah, there's no one really live at the moment that we can raid, so that's where I'm going to call it then. Good job. Thanks, man. So, for those who aren't already following here on Twitch, make sure to follow. If you want to join our Discord, more power to you. We'd welcome you there. For those watching from YouTube, make sure to subscribe. It's all very much appreciated. We try to stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and then sometimes on Sundays, as you're seeing here. So definitely follow if you want to see more of this stuff and see how this kind of develops over time. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everybody, and I will see you soon.